Hey listeners, Shadows and Sightings is a paranormal comedy podcast. Though we keep things lighthearted, we understand some topics may be sensitive to some listeners. These topics include violence, gore, death, and suicide. If you have trauma related to any of these topics, express caution before listening. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Yeah. And I've been in rooms with people that were possessed, and I watched,
You've been in the... Okay, hold on. You can't just throw these things out here.
Just drop bombshells like that.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Shadows and Sightings, the paranormal podcast where we talk about all things spooky. I'm Taylor.
I'm Nick.
And today we got a very special sit-down interview with our good friend, the infamous Johnny K.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Johnny, we've been talking about this for a while. You're like a super fan of the show.
Yes.
You always give us some pretty positive feedback. And it might be biased feedback, but
I don't think it's biased. I don't look at it as biased. Like, yes, I know you, and I enjoy the humor and everything that goes into it, but also I'm a fan of it. Like, that's why I come back week after week.
Well, we very much appreciate that. We also appreciate you sitting down with us and talking the paranormal with us.
Heck yeah.
And before we did this, we did a little bit of photography over on the C&O Canal. And for people that obviously probably don't know who Johnny K is, unless you're one of his hundreds of thousands of Facebook followers, he's a professional photographer. So
I am. It's my thing.
And it's taken you some pretty spooky places, hasn't it?
It has. Absolutely.
Any favorites?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just got back from Knoxville, Tennessee, and we shot at this place. It was a old historic mansion called the Mabry Hazen House.
Okay.
And apparently these people were rich back in Civil War, pre-Civil War era, and they had oh my gosh, so beautiful house, had a lot of the same furniture that was in it, which I find disturbing because you get attachments to stuff like that. So the management is taking us through the house, and already I have a sense that it's like, wow, I felt watched the whole time, but I didn't feel threatened, but I felt watched, and went all through the house. And then the manager was like, would you guys like to see the basement? And they don't show anyone they never show anyone in the basement. No one is allowed in the basement. So we go down these steps, and it's an old stone basement. And that's where the slaves were. That's where they cooked. That's where they slept. That's where they did everything. They congregated. And we went into like the kitchen area, which is also the dining room area. And in my mind's eye, I could not physically see the presence of these guys and ladies, but I knew where they were, and I could tell you exactly what they looked like.
Oh wow!
And there was a lady who was there. She looked like she was in her early 40s. And she was smiling, like she was just, and she had a bowl. She was like holding a bowl, like a ceramic bowl. Mm-hmm. And she was just smiling in the corner, watching us. And then there was one guy who was kind of indifferent. He just didn't care that we were there, but he was leaning against the table. But then there was this other guy, and he was not happy that we were there. And he was yelling at us. Mm-hmm. And Jason of Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives out of Knoxville, he said he counted 11. There were a lot down there.
So is he like kind of like a sensitive or or something
yes.
like that too?
Yeah. He doesn't even need equipment to
oh wow,
to find them. Like he can see them as well.
Nick, what is your take on sensitives? Do you have any kind of insight? Like, what do you think about?
I think that there is something to be said about people that are sensitive to like the supernatural. Mm-hmm. We were talking about, I forget what episode it was, but there's like bizarre police cases where they're just so baffled and they hire like mediums or whatever to kind of like, and like intervene on the case, and they like actually find like something.
Yeah.
It may not even be like the whereabouts of the body or whatever, but like a shred of evidence that leads them to
gets them to the right place.
To where like points them in the right direction.
Yep.
So I definitely do believe that there are some people that have gifts out there.
Right. And Johnny, you kind of self-described yourself as a sensitive to a degree. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you think Jason's more sensitive than you are, but
he's more experienced in it. Like I do the day-to-day where he does also the day-to-day, but he also uses it to investigate places.
Right.
So he's definitely more aware of his surroundings, where I'm not always, happy-go-lucky, like, hey, until something my spidey senses go off and I'm like, something doesn't feel right. But yeah, that place was amazing. There were 3 hanging trees, but they would not confirm nor deny the presence of hanging trees. But when you're outside and you, again, mind's eye, you see them hanging there.
Sure.
Like it's like,
now, just for some of our listeners out there, when you say the mind's eye, kind of walk us through what you mean, maybe in terms of what you think that means.
So it's like imagination, but it's a sense.
As a person that doesn't have any mind's eye experience, I don't know what that could be. So I know what you're referring to, but it's never personally happened to me.
Right. So. Yeah. I even think like imagination is a bad word, but like you can sense something and you can, in your head, you can see where they're at. You can see what they almost look like.
It's almost like if somebody's standing in the room with you.
Yes. Yep. But you're not physically seeing them, but you know they're there. Mm-hmm. And that mind's eye can actually give you details of what they look like. I mean, believe it or not, but I can tell you that's what happens to me and many other people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that place was amazing. Some of the models because we were down there for a photo shoot, and some of the models had experiences too. And
that's so crazy.
That was an amazing place. Like I would definitely go back. I would not go down back to the basement though. I would not step foot in that basement again. Yeah, there was something about like we weren't supposed to be down there. That was their space. And like the upstairs areas, there are definitely spirits up there, but they're just there.
Right.
They're not there to harm. They're not there to spook. They're not there to do anything.
It's more like, so we kind of have talked in the previous episodes of kind of like what types of haunts there are. You have a residual haunt and an intelligent haunt. Do you think this is more of a residual haunt where it's just kind of like a tape rewinding itself and playing it and, kind of doing like that, where they don't really have any sense of people in the house. They're just going through the motions.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But downstairs, no.
Okay.
That is definitely intelligent haunting down there. Mm. They were not happy that we were there.
Wow. Anything like stand out particularly to you of why you felt that they didn't want you there, or it was just a feeling you got?
It was a feeling. Even when I talked about it with Jason later on that night, I said the one was not happy. He's like, no, he was not happy. He wanted us out of there as soon as we walked down there. So he felt it as well. Mm-hmm. We're still trying to figure out who. Somebody mumbled something to one of the models that was with us, and she that was her first ever experience ever. Like she doesn't do paranormal. Well, she does paranormal. She loves paranormal TV, but she had never had an experience until we were down there. And she said somebody mumbled something in her ear, and I was like, to me that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it freaked her out, but she didn't feel threatened by it at all. It was just a weird experience for her, but I'm glad she had it. Now she knows. Because the stuff that she has watched on TV or on YouTube or whatever she watches, she got the experience for herself. So it's intriguing.
It's crazy though how, like you said, we watched all these shows. Like we grew up watching Ghost Hunters. We grew up with like the paranormal, like UFO hunters and stuff like
X-Files.
that.
X-Files not to a degree of it being an actually scientific show, but
like just like the idea that.
It's not.
Believe it or not,
I thought it was a true story. You watch these shows at first kind of through like a skeptical lens, like you're open to the idea of it being, and some people like really generally do want to believe that stuff.
Well, I think it's a skeptical lens for some people, but for others on the opposite side, it's a show where they're confirming their beliefs. They're not looking at it through a skeptical sense. They're looking at it through, finally a community that can relate to me.
Yes.
But it's like, but then when someone like you described, like when they have an experience, like it's crazy how much that literally changes the perspective of somebody. It's almost like it shakes them to their core where they can't return back to like an older world.
It affects your entire world.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it just shakes your whole perception of reality. It's insane.
Yeah. And mine started in elementary school.
I was going to ask you, where did you?
So, we had a classmate.
Yeah.
He got hit by a car and he died instantly.
Okay.
I think that was in third grade.
Oh, wow.
So here we are a year later in fourth grade, and me and
I'm already gonna get goosebumps. I can already tell.
Me and one of my buddies, we were out at Surrey School. Do you know where Surrey School is in Hagerstown? Nope. It's right across the street from City Park. It sits up on the hill. It's a big building.
Is it like abandoned now? Not abandoned, but shut down?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
So that was my elementary school.
Okay.
And up there was a basketball court. And of course, we were out on recess. And me and my friend, we were on the basketball court and nobody else was over there. Well, we noticed that somebody was walking up through the yard of the school from the main entrance. And he started walking towards us. I'm like, that looks like so-and-so. And he got closer and it's like, that's so-and-so. How can that be? We were told he got hit by a car and killed, which is why he hasn't been in school this year, obviously.
I'm surprised they told you that.
The teacher, like the day he died, the teacher, or the day after he died, the teacher informed us what had happened and that he didn't make it. And, the teacher broke down, the whole class broke down because, he was a good kid. Right. And so he walks up to us and something wasn't right. Like I noticed something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it other than just being freaked out that, he's not supposed to be here right now.
Like you're seeing it, but your brain wasn't registering that. Like this doesn't make sense.
Because this wasn't an apparition. This was like
it was like a full body. This
was like you guys sitting here right now and talking to us.
Clear as day. Yeah.
Yes. So he comes up. He's like, "Hey guys," and we're like, "Hi, where you been?" And he's like, "Oh, I've been around." Which was, again,
kind of cryptic.
Weird. And it's like, are you coming back to school? He's like, no, I'm not coming back. And it was like, it was a very brief. He said that he had to go. And we said, all right, well, hopefully we'll see you again. And he just turned and he smiled. And we watched him walk towards the road again through the yard of the school. Me and my friend thought that maybe they heard, like the teachers heard wrong. Because when you're that young, you're thinking, somebody didn't hear the story right. But so we were excited and we went back and told our teachers who were watching us on recess. And one of them was our teacher from the year, it was her student. And she got physically upset and she sent us to the principal's office. Our parents were called because, we really upset her by joking with her about us seeing this,
this dead kid.
Yeah. And like, we didn't know what to think because
you're in fourth grade. I mean,
yeah. And he's there. He was standing right in front of us having a conversation and they confirmed that he died and he was dead and that was not him. And I'm like, well, how do you explain that then?
Right.
So that was my first ever experience with the paranormal. Oof. And even to this day, when I think, like, I got chills right now just thinking about it.
Because, it gave me chills.
Oh man.
But that's what started me down the whole road of being more accepting and more not really be so afraid of it, but and also like to look, to watch.
Embracing it more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that experience, being so young, that kind of gave you I don't want to say that like being a sensitive or of that sense is kind of a power or a gift? I don't want to put it that way, but do you I think when you're exposed to it that small, and like you said, now you're open to it, now you're looking for it. Do you think that kind of has affected how you sense things now?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. No, that was the jump start. That was the kickstart. Because now my world just opened up.
Right.
And it was a world that you
pulled back the veil and you looked through it.
I did. Yeah. And it was, and ever since that, like the house that we lived in at the time had a spirit in it, but I always wrote it off. But after that experience, I started, thinking, well, what if? And I've lived in a couple places that have had spirits in it. And I saw this spirit in a room down the hall. Well, that's the room I want to go into then. That's where I'm going to put my bed. I'm going to switch bedrooms with, whoever. And I want that room.
So it went from a fear. I mean, you may have never been afraid of it, but it went from a fear to this is where I'm supposed to be, because now I have to find out.
I have to find out, but I'm also scared shitless of it too. So like that stuff, it terrifies me because what I know now.
Is it still to this day?
Yes, because what I know now about the paranormal is it's not just seeing an apparition or hearing a voice or getting touched or anything like that. It's they can harm.
Sure.
And I don't for some reason, and I think it has to do with some of my background with the occult.
Just gonna sneak that in there.
I'm gonna slip that underneath the door.
I was a part of a cult for a little while. I was a part of a few, led a few.
But
the cult of Johnny K.
I had an attachment from my dealings with the occult, and it lasted several years.
Sure.
It actually it turned me. It made me run to the church because I didn't want it anymore. And it's like, well, who's going to take this away? Well, I guess we'll see if God can do it.
Sure.
And I don't know if I didn't want to let go of it, but it stuck with me to well after all that. I ultimately got rid of it through some advice from some friends of mine who deal with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I haven't seen this attachment for years.
Good.
Thank God, because this thing was horrifying, and it was actually starting to show itself in little ways in like the natural.
Oh wow. Yeah,
no, it was scary as shit. Yeah, the occult. Yeah, don't fuck with the occult, kids. But also, like I'm a magnet. Like if there's something that's out there, or in a room, or in a house, it's going to find me. It wants to find me.
Hopefully, you're not sensing anything now.
No, not
okay. Good.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Except for the cat.
That affects you more than it would affect.
The cat likes me.
I haven't had any like experiences yet or anything like that.
Did he die in the house?
He didn't die in the home. He died in the nursing home right across the street from here.
Okay.
But he lived here for 30, 40 some odd years.
Oh wow.
So yeah, he's there for a while.
So you would think there'd be some residual energy here.
Depends on how dear this place was to him, because what I found is sometimes if somebody thinks like their childhood home is like the best place they've ever lived, and that's where all their fondest memories are, that's kind of, sometimes that's where they end up.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I found.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Me, I don't know where the hell I'm going to go.
You're going to end up with the sheets.
Oh my God, yes. Wouldn't that be amazing? Be standing outside tapping people on the shoulders and be like, what? It's like, can you get me 2 hot dogs for $1?
It's like, the sheets deal?
In a large Arizona?
Yeah. Oh, of course. It's the sheets deal. Why not? Turn around, you're gone. What am I going to do with this order?
Somebody out in the parking lot just asked me to get 2 hot dogs and I can't find it. Oh, that's just the ghost of Johnny K.
He's a nice guy. He's like Casper.
Yeah,
he's a friendly ghost. But yeah, but there have been times where I've been in lots of places, and I've had experiences, and other people have had experiences with me, and they blame it on me because I was there. You know, I brought it out.
Naturally, it's your fault.
It's like, don't blame the cult, kids. Yeah, no.
So
it's interesting.
Have you had? We'll kind of go through a couple of different phases. Have you had? What was the scariest place outside of your occult dealings? Any scariest places that you were like, I cannot, like something terrified happened to you, or like you just had to run for cover?
Gettysburg.
Really?
Gettysburg.
What happened in Gettysburg?
It was downtown Gettysburg. Walking down one street, and we were looking at this one particular shop, and they had like a lot of occult kind of stuff in the window already. And I was admiring it, and I took a couple pictures of it and whatnot. The model that I was with would not sit on the porch of this place for a photo because of all the occultic symbolism that was behind it. But I sat down, I'm like, I said, there's nothing here. Don't worry about it. And I got the most weird, like just something dangerous is here right now. And this is broad daylight.
Yeah. Wow.
Something was not right. And I said, we have to leave this area. And she, I didn't want to freak her out because she, we left real quickly. I was already ahead of her walking. I'm like, can you hurry up? Because it followed for like maybe a half block. And then it just I guess went back to the shop to go shopping and hang out and honk.
I wonder what shop it was. I want to find this shop.
It's near.
I was trying to think about any downtown shops that have occultic symbolism around.
It's an ice cream place near the high school or the middle school.
Mr. G's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's across the street going towards the orphanage.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of places up there that are dealing in holistic things and that kind of stuff.
And there's one, and the porch is very plain looking except for the stuff that's there. And whenever I'm down there,
I think I know the place that you were talking about. I think they moved down the street.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
maybe they had too many things.
I'll avoid that place because I don't know whether it's attached to the shop or whether it's attached to just something that's in the shop that was there.
Right.
Because that you can attachments you can move out of a haunted house, but that haunted house is moving with you. And what's in it if it's attached to you.
Yeah.
I've discovered that a lot too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, in what way?
I think we had well, I'm going to blame it on the occult thing.
Sure, you can blame the occult for everything.
Yeah. Well, it was the same situation. It was the same entity. It was the same spirit.
Sure.
And it followed me for years. And I've been to 7 different places I've lived since that time, and it followed. It came with me. So it can, they can attach to yourself. Right. They can attach to
if you're inviting that presidents in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily, but I'm also not getting rid of it either.
True.
I had the orphanage.
Okay. I've actually never been in the orphanage.
Oh my God, Taylor.
I heard didn't the ghost story went on?
We talked about it in our Ghost of Gettysburg episode a little bit, but I've actually never been in it.
But it's supposedly like very haunted, right?
It is. Yes.
Did you run into the stick boy there?
We did not. So I went with my daughter. She actually had more experiences than I did. After the whole, because they take you down to the basement of this place,
right,
which is where the dungeon and all that stuff is, and they turn out all the lights, and the only thing you can see is like under a curtain, you can see there's a furnace, and you see like a little pilot light kind of thing, and that's all you see. And after they go through the whole story and all that stuff, they let you go back into the dungeon area and whatnot. But as I'm walking back to the dungeon, I felt fingertips on my ankle.
Oh, nope. That's enough of that.
And it wasn't like a wispy little thing. It was like fingertips on my ankle. Like, not really grab, but just kind of rubbed against me.
Oh,
and like, by that time, the lights are already on. And I'm looking down, and I didn't see anything. So I looked underneath the curtain of this one particular room, and there's nothing in there. So you don't see any feet, no hands, nobody standing.
I thought you were going to be like, I seen little feet run by.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
So out the door on that one.
Like, that's a wrap.
So my daughter goes back into one of the dungeon rooms, and she sits in the corner of this place, and she's like, if there's any spirits that want to communicate with me, come over. I'm inviting you. And she held out her hands. She goes, if somebody wants to say hi, come over and tap my hand. Well, I'm sitting there watching her, and I have my camera. I'm not filming video, but I'm shooting pictures. And I see her hand like go down, like someone pushed her hand down. She goes, did you see that? I'm like, yeah, I did. And I started taking pictures, and I will find this picture for you. But the one picture that I took, and there was no light source because there was 2 pictures that I took in there. There's this bright flash of light where there should not be a flash of light. I didn't use flash because no
flash photography.
Right, no flash photography. And I don't know what I captured, but I captured something that was not there, and especially in the same exact room, in the same exact spot. I shot another picture, and it was fine.
Right.
All the pictures that I took down there had little weird, edgings around, like electronical, I will go back. I will, because like the way I saw it, like it was children, and they wanted to play.
Right.
And that's why I've kind of felt, the on my ankles and whatnot. And, she had her experience. And they're children.
And trying to get your attention.
They're trying to get your attention, and they, because they want attention, But when we left, we had like the most amazing experience there. Like that did not scare us. Like we wanted to go back in. We were talking to the lady who played Rosa Carmichael. Is that her name, Rosa?
Yeah, something like that. Something along those lines. She was the one that beat the kids. And, and tortured them. And
so we were talking to the actor who played her throughout our tour.
Imagine getting that job.
That would be but imagine being in that place every day.
Know, right? And then I bet she's probably had a lot of crazy stuff happen to her just being that person.
She would talk about it. Well, at least this particular one would talk about it a little bit. But she was like, I'm glad you guys had experience. I'm like, I want to go back down. Like that was amazing. That I've never felt so at peace with the paranormal than I did leaving the orphanage.
Okay, well then there you go. That was the other side of the spectrum. I was going to ask you, the scariest and then the least, the most comforting, I guess.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
and and I've been in rooms with people that were possessed, and I watched. You've
been in the. Okay, hold on. You can't just throw these things out here. Just
drop bombshells like that. It's like. Exorcist, I was there, the original one.
There's steps, man.
Yeah, like
they're a bitch to climb.
Yeah, terrible.
And just hold on. You've been in the room with people who were possessed.
Yes, this was I was with some of my church people when I was involved in church and Christianity and ministry and stuff like that. And there was a guy and his wife, and his wife was definitely had.
Sure.
And so the whole prayer thing started, and delivering her and all this other stuff. And after it was all said and done, my friend leaned over to me And he's like, it's still there. And if you looked at her eyes, you could see it was still there. Like she had a look about her, and in her eyes were not the same color. They were fine with it. They were like, oh, she was delivered of this demon, blah, blah, blah. No, it didn't leave. And I don't know whether she didn't want it to leave, but it was still there. But she was possessed. And there was this guttural, she couldn't have made that noise. And it creeped me out. Yeah. But,
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, what the fuck, Johnny?
It's like
we talked about it. He's like, oh, I got stories to tell you guys. I got ghost stories and this and that. Never once did I think you were going to be like, just drop the news that you were in a room with a person that was possessed.
Dude, it was bad. I mean, I almost said it was bad. Yeah. It was like you grew up watching movies about possessed people, right? And and you think, that's it's a movie.
It's a movie. It's Hollywood. That's
and
not real.
It's happening right in front of you, and these people personally, and it's a whole different thing. And like I was afraid for her, and I was afraid for everybody in that room.
Yeah, and I've seen The Exorcist. Like, I don't want people levitating and throwing up and. It's been a while since I've seen The Exorcist, but all that, I would be terrified of being in a room with a person who is, I'm assuming, was it like the movie where she's like in the bed and like tied to it? Or she was like,
we were actually in like a side room of the church that I attended.
I actually got into the church. I'm surprised she just like burst into flames.
I mean, she went to church every Sunday. Wow. Like she was there. She was a part of ministry. What? But she just allowed things to like enter her life. And instead of dealing with it in the way that she probably should have in the spiritual, she just accepted it and it became
demonic.
I
was going to ask, like, what was like the background that like led up to her being possessed like that? Like normally there's everything that I've ever seen about possession, there's an intent. There's a literal intent from the person reaching out to like dark forces and then actually like inviting them in. It's almost like a request. For whatever reason it may be. Maybe they're trying to gain power, trying to gain knowledge, trying to like gain favor of somebody else. So as opposed to reaching out to like, the lighter and, a good source, they reach out to, demonic, dark forces or whatever.
Well, in her teens, she messed around with a little bit of witchcraft.
Gotcha. Okay.
Not enough. She felt not enough to like warrant anything like that. She just took an interest in it, read books about it, hung out with, some witches and stuff like that. Mm. And I guess she learned some stuff. She accepted some stuff and it stuck with her, literally.
Sure. Yeah, literally. I would say so.
And even through, church and, salvation and all that stuff, it stuck with her. Like it must have been that powerful to not leave, or she just didn't.
Or kind of go over that, or like for it to go under the radar or whatever.
Right. Yeah,
right.
That's
and that also kind of contradicts our one episode about witches, where it was nothing inherently to do with Satan or Satan worshiping or anything like that. In this particular instance, I guess it could have been something went off the rails somewhere where it turned into that. Maybe
a lot of in like the 90s and like the early 2000s, but especially in the 90s, it seemed like the occult and like witchcraft kind of blended, and it became like this sinister, because you think witchcraft, again, like you guys did the episode, you think, pure and earthy and, natural stuff like that.
Natural healing.
But some people bring the occult into it, and it's a darker thing, and it's how they use witchcraft for negative.
And also we talked about there was like people like the
black magic users,
or like they're like the one connotation of like what a witch is. It's to use magic to like bring harmful intent onto somebody else.
Right.
So it's not surprising, like with that push like that you would run into something like that.
I guess when you blend, if you get the perfect combination of wanting to bring harm to somebody and, like you said, that boom of the satanic panic kind of thing, bringing witchcraft and the occult together, you have the intentions of doing bad to somebody, so you're kind of invoking Satan in a way.
Yeah,
to a degree, or a
because I think back
force.
in that time, I think they, like, when you think of witches, we think of the green faced, black hat, big nose thing, but it has like a mystery and an almost evil vibe to it. Mm-hmm. So I think they kind of like, that's why it kind of meshed together. In some of those times, they just wanted to make witchcraft and witches seemed, threatening and avoid the witch.
I was not prepared for that bombshell of possessed people. I wasn't prepared. That threw me off. No, it's good. It's such good shit, as Vince McMahon would say.
Another scary time, I was in Gettysburg.
I'm in Gettysburg all the time, and I never have experiences.
Really?
I had one time, and here you are, you're walking down the street, and you just
things happen. Yeah. The one overlook tower, it's over by the statue of the Eternal Flame.
Yes.
Thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lookout tower there, and I was actually set up. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was setting up to shoot the sunrise. One little area, you see a fog. I didn't think anything of it. It's like, it's summertime, and I'm thinking, it's kind of odd for like fog because it's definitely not cold out to nothing. But what struck my interest was hearing chatter that came from the direction of the fog. Now, I was there with another photographer, and we just thought maybe joggers, because we're up so high. We're waiting for the sun to peak behind the mountain. We're not looking around, if there's anyone walking and calisthenics in.
Right.
But there was definite. I couldn't make out particular words or anything like that.
Kind of like murmuring, like in a crowded room.
Yes, there, but it was like a quiet murmuring, but it was there, and I didn't say anything to him, but it was weird that it was right where this fog was. And that's one of the things that a lot of people talk about when it comes to the ghosts in Gettysburg and the battlefield is some of the mysterious fog that shows.
Right.
I can actually say that happened. And for us, when we were out there, and again, we're not looking for paranormal. We're trying to shoot the sunrise, We're both photographers. And that scared the shit out of me. Like, I wanted to pack up my shit and just leave, but that would have meant going down to their level.
You had to fight your way out.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it's when you're not looking for it is when it appears.
Yeah.
Like if you ever go to like Gettysburg, Shepherdstown, Harper's Ferry with the intention of like trying to find a spiritual entity or ghost or something, you never find it. Mm-hmm. But it's like when you're sitting in a diner drinking a cup of coffee and you look over and you see like a gentleman sitting in the corner. And, you look away and you look back over and he's gone, it's like, it almost seems like it's whenever you're not looking for it, it's like when you'll see the most like crazy shit.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I'm at Gettysburg all the time. I'm never looking for stuff and nothing ever happens. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Are you open to it?
Yeah. Obviously.
You do this, but like.
I want to see stuff. I want to see it. If I seen it, I would be like, oh.
He's just right out to the cemetery. Why won't you show yourselves?
I want to know why you're here. But no, I only ever had the one experience. I talked about it in our Ghost of Gettysburg episode at the National Cemetery.
Yes.
Where I just seen like this black shadow figure walking up through the cemetery and kind of just fading into the night.
Yep.
And it was with my buddy Connor. And we both seen the same thing, looked around trying to find somebody who could have been walking around the cemetery, when you're not supposed to be. Don't join the occult and don't walk around cemeteries in Gettysburg at night, kids, as Johnny would say. But couldn't find anything. And of course, that cemetery is blocked off by a big iron rod gate. Takes you to the next cemetery over Green Hill Cemetery, which is the original one. So just to see that go into the direction of an iron rod gate and then vanish was the only experience I've ever had. But
I mean, I've had friends that have captured, when it comes to like cell phone technology and like, taking pictures of something that you think is a ghost, it's really hard, and people are hard on seeing those, trying to debunk them, or that's a shadow, or but because I can only go by what he sees with his own eyes, and what he saw, he took a picture of, and that's exactly what he saw. But I have friends who have photographed things up there or have had encounters. They've had lots more than I have, but I'm not, again, I'm
that's
just
crazy because you seem to be a mecca of ghostly activity.
So
I was going to ask you, as a photographer, when somebody brings to you quote unquote photographic evidence of paranormal activity and they show you, is it something that you can look at and debunk it as something, this is a trick of the light, or this is that, or do you look at it as more of that side of you that is a believer in the paranormal and you kind of buy into it?
If I know the person and trust the person who's given me the image to look at, I would tend to lean towards believing them. But I can also take that image into some software and I can, switch colors around and switch, all that. And I can see if something was added,
tweaked or something like that. Yeah.
And some of the stuff that I've seen, I can't debunk. Mm-hmm. I can't say there was vape smoke. I can't say it was, because I see that a lot too. A lot of people use vape smoke As we did today.
Don't give that away. Don't tell the people that.
Trade secrets. Trade secrets.
But people say, oh, there's an apparition. It's like, you can obviously tell that is a swirl of vape smoke or cigarette smoke. Like but God bless the internet and all the liars out there. Yeah, no, I that happens sometimes, and I will get sent photos, and they want me to clean them up so they can see things better. I can't cell phone photos, even though they look magnificent on your cell phone.
Right. You blow them up to a big size, they look
they lose
all their integrity.
Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of hard, but people do send me stuff all the time, and some of it's not believable. I'm telling them like, nah, I don't believe that one whatsoever. But yeah.
So you've also said that you do a lot of photography down in Shepherdstown.
Yes.
And Shepherdstown is notorious as being one of the most haunted locations.
Oh, yes.
Maybe in America. There's even its own show called Ghosts of Shepherdstown.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, you live 20 minutes away and you never
would never even know that it's like the most haunted or a very haunted location.
Like it's a beautiful little historic town. And if you go there not expecting anything, you see, coffee shops and, stuff like that, little restaurants,
stores.
Yeah, like it's
a little college town.
It's a beautiful, like the college is off. You don't even know there's a college there.
Unless you're driving in over the bridge where the Bavarian Inn is.
Right, and then you can see it there to your left. But like you go into downtown, it's like you wouldn't think anything of it. And it's such a beautiful place. The people are amazing.
Yeah.
Bunch of hippies.
Yep.
A lot of them are hippies. But that place, and I was telling you, like the sweet shop. So the sweet shop was actually in the first episode of the Ghost of Shepherdstown. That was their first investigation, was the sweet shop.
Okay.
My experience in the sweet shop was in the one corner when you walk through the front door, whole way to the left, there's a corner booth there. I mean, I didn't see anything, but I felt something. Like there was
another mind's eye situation.
Yeah, but like I even in my mind's eye, I didn't. But it was like something dark was there, but it wasn't. I can never put my finger on.
Was it menacing?
It didn't want anyone
have like
there.
Evil intent?
No, it just didn't want anyone there. It was kind of like the one, the one spirit in the basement.
Okay, so not necessarily
no ill intent, but
no ill intent. It's just
territorial.
Yeah.
People are encroaching on its property. It can't do anything about it.
Right.
I mean, it's a place of commerce. People are going to go in and out all the time. So it's just kind of accepted its lot.
But there's something in that one corner that's dark. Like even just visually. There's something dark about that corner. Sometimes you walk in there, it looks like the light just has not shone there for like ever. But sometimes I sit in that corner booth just not to
just to see if you could feel it.
Yeah. I don't always want experiences because like sometimes again that shit scares me. It really does.
I want my croissant. I want my coffee. I'm just sitting here trying to read the fucking paper. Listen, Larry, I'm not here for your shit today.
Just leave me alone.
Just like, there's no fucking sugar. Now I gotta drink this coffee black. It's a fucking Monday.
Oh my gosh. No, we had, I was with a model down there. I take a lot of models down there because it's so beautiful down there. And I love, not all photography is done in a studio. I like the location.
Yeah, you're very outdoorsy and very, just to kind of plug you for a second, you're very nature focused. I feel like in a lot of your stuff, you try to find the natural beauty in a lot of things.
Yes. And bring them into it.
Yeah.
And Shepherdstown is the perfect backdrop for.
This area in general it's a historic, like you said, Shepherdstown, Harper's Ferry, Sharpsburg, Gettysburg, Boonesboro. I mean, it's just such a historic.
Boonesboro's great too. Yeah. And I even Gettysburg, I take a lot of models up to Gettysburg because it's so picturesque. I mean, the buildings, the architecture is beautiful.
Yeah.
But so I was with this model and we left the sweet shop and we were walking on the side of the street where the wall is. And the wall is where a lot of the artistic people from Shepherdstown, they sit and they'll play guitar. You'll see a guy out there with a cello, just weird,
Oh, cello guy? No, just kidding.
But they sit out there in different spots and they do their thing. And the girl, because the model brought a friend with her, and she had this look on her face, and I remember the model saying, "What's wrong? You look spooked." She goes, "There's two of them following us." And I looked around. I turned around. I'm like, I thought she was talking about two weirdo guys. My friend told me that she was sensitive. She was a sensitive, and she could sense. She goes, "There's two spirits walking with us." I'm like, "That's fine. They can walk with us.
Just don't get in my shot."
Yeah, just don't. Or get in my shot because that'd be a cool story. And we were down by the Blue Moon Cafe in downtown, and that's where she said they stopped following. Now, I didn't sense these right off the bat. When we went down to the boat ramp, because you keep on walking that road, like past Blue Moon, you go down to where the Potomac River is, there's a boat ramp there. There's a picnic table. You cross this little bridge where, there's like a fall, like waterfall, kind of trickling water. There's a picnic bench that's near the water. I picked up 3 of them that stand down there, and she saw them too. So that was like, I'm not fucking crazy. Because a lot of people think I am. And I said, there's 2 right there. She goes, and there's 1 right there. I'm like, oh my God, you see it. Like, so there's 3, and they're always there. They're always there. It's like they're watching the water, like they're protecting. Like, I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know what they're looking out for, but there's always 3 by that picnic table.
We have to look into some history and see what.
I know. I would love to find out what that is or why they're there, because they weren't in like military clothing or anything. It was like normal period clothing.
Right. Let's say Shepherdstown. I mean, you had the Confederate retreat from Gettysburg. Go over that, or Antietam. I know that there was the Battle of Shepherdstown. Right around that general area. So, I mean, Civil War history in this area, I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Buku amounts of spirits could be left over from that,
Now, my ex-wife, she grew up in Sharpsburg, and her house growing up was used as a hospital in the Civil War.
Throw a stone in Sharpsburg, you're going to hit a Civil War hospital.
I know, right? Seriously. Because it's like right there at the battlefield. Yeah. And I remember one night, I had to go get something from my car, and we were at her mom's house, and it's a long gravel driveway, and I got something from my car, and I'm walking back, and I heard like shuffling behind me. So I started walking a little faster. Well, this also started walking a little faster. I'm like, there's foxes, mountain lions, there's all kinds of animals out there. And this was a dark. It was.
He was chasing you down just full.
It wanted to harm me. Like, is what I felt. Like, that's in my spirit. That's my spidey senses. Like, this isn't good.
Right.
And it ran with me up to her porch. And I remember turning around and I said, you are not allowed to come up on this porch. This is all the further you can go. You're not allowed on this property. Gone.
Oh, wow.
I didn't sense it. I didn't feel it. It was just gone. And, sometimes you got to take authority over that stuff because,
that seems to be the general accepted way, I guess, of dealing with a spirit that you don't want in your house.
Right.
For instance, you're authoritative and you're very clear in your intent of wanting them to leave. More often than not, people have had success getting rid of a spirit.
Direct with it.
I know the ghosts are so good with authority. Who would have thought?
I mean, it depends, I guess.
One of these days, I'm going to be a ghost. I'm not going to listen to anybody.
Is your ghost going to wear like a Batman helmet?
It might.
Man, that would be badass.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Wow, Saul Taylor. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How did you know?
Batman.
It's the Batman helmet.
Just running down the street in his helmet. Never wears any pants.
You see a floating Batman couch.
Never wears any pants. Just down the street.
What do I need to wear pants for? I'm a ghost.
That's true.
Yeah. Are you going to wear pants when you're a ghost?
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to wear pants as a ghost.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you're really limiting yourself in the afterlife here.
I'm going to have a beanie and wear shorts.
Yeah.
I like the comfy. Have a hoodie, a little sweatshirt, just sit there and, little shorts on. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Some
whatever makes you happy in the afterlife, man.
Some whatchamacallit, what are those flip-flops? Not mandals, but the
like the Jesus sandals?
Yeah, but what's the name for them though? Birkenstocks.
Oh yeah.
Just doing a thing.
You just get a slight hint of cigar smoke and nicks around because you can hear the click clack of the Birkenstocks.
The click clack of the Birkenstocks and the Java Mocha. So
Johnny, what's been like the most recent thing that's happened to you within? I know like today you were like, I don't like that building over there, but
coming back from Knoxville, that whole situation was the most recent until we went to that place today, and again like weird vibes, something not right.
Something just like watching.
I don't know if it's watching or just it's there, but it was a weird presence. It was a weird feeling that I had walking past that place.
Interesting.
And I didn't know it had a history. Like you said, it's been there for however long it's been there. Right along the Potomac River, or Is that
CNO Canal?
CNO Canal,
yeah.
I mean, the war, bodies.
But yeah, the Confederate Army retreated across the Potomac from that area.
Yes.
So I mean, battles going on over there. A lot of wounded, a lot of dead people. I'm sure they had to leave a bunch of them behind. Just to get back across. But
there's a lot of wandering spirits out there, and sometimes they'll set up shop. So they don't have to haunt just the place they're in. Mm-hmm. They can wander and go, hey, let's hang out here.
That'd be my thing. If I'm a ghost, why limit yourself to one location?
Like, why would I stay in this area when I could let's go to New York?
Right.
We'll hang out at Times Square, man.
Right.
Like, let's go to the strip bar in West Virginia. Like, honk there.
The possibilities are endless.
I know, right? You're a ghost. You can go wherever you want.
Right.
I'm going to Edinburgh.
that place that seems like a little overcrowded for ghosts.
Like tourist league this time of year. Like
Edinburgh is just the ghost. It's like the Tokyo of ghostdom.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Bloody Lane?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever been there at nighttime or like dusk?
I've never been there at night. I've been there super early in the morning, but I've never been there at dusk. Well, that's not true. I might have been there a couple times at dusk. I used to go to Antietam a lot, but I've only been there a handful of times in the last couple of years.
I mean, I love Antietam. It's not as fun as Gettysburg.
It's not, but Antietam is unique in the sense that it's like one of the only battlefields that if you would bring a soldier that fought there during that time to it, they would be able to point everything out because it was so well preserved.
Yes,
it was preserved from the start.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, they were on it down there. Like they have that more preserved. Like you go to Gettysburg and there's a new restaurant.
There's a KFC right in the middle.
There's a KFC right in the middle of the battlefield. Yeah, there's a cell tower, but Antietam is definitely preserved well.
Yeah, it's the most well-preserved battlefield, I believe, on the East Coast. It could be throughout, all the Civil War battlefields. But, yeah, I think there's got to be a good amount of activity going on down at Antietam.
I took a picture. I'm going to have to find it for you. But I took a picture in Bloody Lane. And some people will say, it's just, it's insects. It's gnats, in the glow of the sun and whatnot. And I'm not going to say it's not. It looks like a shit ton of orbs in Bloody Lane. Like I'm down in the lane shooting down, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a good feeling about what I was seeing. I don't know. There's sometimes I can't explain how I feel and what I see, and I just kind of leave it at that because I don't want to look too far into it. I don't want to go, I got a bad sense about that. Or
so you'd be seeing and feeling stuff everywhere all the time.
Exactly.
It'd just be a miserable existence.
I really don't want to.
Yeah.
I get terrified with the shit that I do see.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You said orbs. Now, what is your perspective on orbs? Is that a thing that you buy into?
I think I don't want to say orbs are bullshit. If that's the only way one can manifest from the afterlife, if they can just become this little ball of energy. Because, I've seen some of the, I watch all the paranormal shows,
right?
And I see stuff and it's like, that can't move like an insect. It can't. Like, you ever see a fly go? I did, know?
Right.
And
dust particles. I mean,
yes.
That's anytime that there's an orb. I like that, like ghost hunters. Instantly, if there's an orb, they just like, no,
it's dust.
We're throwing that out.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know, but there's only been like maybe one or two instances where an orb has shown up. It's like manifests itself, moves freely around an area, and then comes back kind of where it starts and disappears. And that's kind of one of those things where, okay, that could be something.
Right.
But if it's just a quick little, it just went across the screen. Come on.
Now I see, like, I've seen some investigations where something will happen, something will get topped over, something will get pulled open, and you'll see an orb in that general area. Sort of, kind of. Right, I'm like, was that just a coincidence that this speck of dust that got some light on it just was in that room at that particular time when this happened, or was that the energy from that quote unquote orb that caused that to happen? I don't know. I wasn't there. And again, I'm kind of with you. I'm like 50-50 on the whole orb thing because a lot of people play.
I'm more like 90-10. 90% bullshit.
Like I feel like I need more proof,
right,
that it is paranormal,
right?
Because
for sure.
God, you can't believe anything you see on TV, obviously, because, ratings, and they want to make people scared. And
then they got to keep you invested.
They got to keep you invested in what's happening to come back for the next season.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, I can't really answer the orb question, but I've never experienced an orb other than that picture that I took.
Okay.
And I can't say that wasn't just a bunch of bugs in the summertime at sunset.
That was your ska band for a little while, wasn't it?
Orbs in the sunset.
See him 3 times. Yeah, they're just like, that dude pulls out that trumpet. Oh man, it just takes me on a fucking ride. It's good stuff. I had, it's funny you're talking about orbs. So when I was a counselor, one of my clients came in and she was going through a tough time because she had lost her mom. And I'd known her. It was funny. I'd known her for like a while in the recovery community. So but she comes in and she has one of those Ring cameras on her door. And she's like, Nick, I've been tracking this for 4 or 5 straight nights. Every night around the same time, these orb things were just appearing over, this bush here in front of my house or whatever. And like you guys, I'm like, okay, well,
could be dust.
It could be dust, could be bugs or whatever. But she was like adamant, swore up and down the wall. I was like, I think this is my mom trying to make contact with, because I'm looking through all of my footage for this Ring camera and never, we've had this for a while now and never has this happened. But it only started until after she had passed away. And she showed me the footage and it looked like there were just bright orbs, all appearing in front of the Ring camera in the bush or whatever. So, she swore up and down the wall. And like I said earlier, it was such a profound experience where, it kind of changed her reality on things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not by any means, if you see an orb and that brings you closure, if you think that that's your mom and that brings you some sort of peace or comfort, by all means, but from a hard science perspective, where there's so many variables that could go into an orb sighting. Yeah. I just don't tend to buy into that.
That's fair. And I tend to agree with that. I think I'm looking for more hard evidence, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. When it comes to spirits and stuff like that. Okay, sure. That first photo, maybe there's a couple orbs in there or whatever, but show me
But the fact that she sees it every night at the same time and in no other time, that gives you a little bit more to work with.
Kind of work. Yeah, there's more specifics to it. And it happened after this event of her mom passing. So now, okay, there's some sort of
maybe her mom was planted that bush and she's just
I think there was something I remember. I can't remember the specifics to it.
Favorite kind of flower flavor.
Yeah, there was something specific to it. It was that. Yeah, basically it was that was the scenario. It was her mom had planted the bush, or it was her favorite type of flower or something like that. And that's why she was so attached to this experience being so profound in the way that it was. Because she was that's the bush that she planted, and it was after she passed away. It's the same time every night that these things are popping up, and I have no explanation for it.
Yeah, see, that gives me that's a little more credence then to seeing something more paranormal. Just the same time consistently.
There's consistency
over this, for sure. Now, I want to get Johnny's take on this. You were telling me about some of the ghost stories that you've had growing up in your childhood home.
Yeah,
why don't you tell our listeners and tell Johnny the instance you had the one time.
Yeah. So growing up, I've only really ever had, I would say, 2 paranormal experiences. If you want to chalk it up to that, just spiritual, profound moments. The first occurred in early childhood. I was probably maybe 8 or 9. It was a 3-story townhome. I was on the 3rd floor. Again, it was such a bizarre and shocking experience that it's just I can remember what I was doing that evening. I was playing Medal of Honor on the computer,
Hell yeah.
On the PC. I remember what I was eating that night. I don't remember what I was wearing, but I remember it was eating and stuff. And it's okay, I got done eating my food. Let me go take my bowl downstairs and put it in the sink. To my knowledge, the only persons that were home at the time were my grandma and my brother. Brother was already asleep. Grandma was already asleep in her room. So I'm on the 3rd floor. I walk down the steps. All the lights are off in the house except the hallway light to go downstairs and the kitchen light. Everything else was completely cut off, so it's just pitch black. In the kitchen where the sink was, there was a cutout that you could look out into the dining room and the living room. So I walk up and I put the bowl in the sink. And immediately, when I put the bowl down, I hear snarling. The best way I can describe it is my dog is whenever we're playing fetch and he has the stick in his mouth and he won't let go. He's growling it was basically that. Right. But it kind of started getting louder and louder. So kind of how you were describing, Johnny, when you saw your friend, and you're trying to rationalize what is happening. So I hear this snarling and I hear this growling, and I think, well, maybe it's my dad sleeping on the couch or whatever. So I remember going to the window, looking out to see if the car was there, because my parents, they were both working night shift at the time, and I was like, and they were only wearing, we only had the one car. So by default, like if somebody was here, the car would be out in the driveway. Car wasn't out in the driveway.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well then, mom and dad aren't here. Walk back over to the cutout there, and it's getting progressively louder and louder. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what it is, but there is something sitting on the other side of this wall right now, like growling at it. And part of me wanted to like walk around like into the hallway out of the kitchen and like peer around the corner to see what it was. But I knew that if I did that, like I probably would have saw something, would have scared the shit out of me. So like I hightailed it upstairs and I locked the door, and I did not come out until like the morning.
Wow.
I remember like telling my dad about it or whatever, and he started like doing like probing questions. Like, I was like, you haven't been messing with anything that you haven't been like, I was like, no, Dad.
No witchcraft, no cult.
Yeah, basically like,
Johnny.
like it's, because we grew up in a pretty religious, Christian like based home or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of like the first thing. He was asking probing questions, and he's like, there's a lot of stuff that can attach to you or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, and he was like, no, Dad, I'm just minding my own damn business being an 8-year-old.
Playing Medal of Honor.
Like, what? And that was like to this day, and kind of like how like you described like the mind's eye thing. I kept getting this like reoccurring image of a black dog with red eyes, and I don't know, like that was just like the image that kept coming in my mind. I was like, okay, like I gotta like. So that was like my first paranormal experience. The second one was actually more recent, and Brittany was a part of this one too. So like she's as a witness, like she can attest to this, but. You know how when you grow up in a certain home and you've been there forever, you pretty much know what it sounds like when somebody walks through the front door.
Yes.
Somebody's walking up the steps, walking down the steps.
You know all the creaks, the moans.
Yeah, exactly. You know the sounds, like clockwork. So at the time we were living in the basement, and it was probably like maybe 9-10 o'clock at night. We were watching TV downstairs, and so we're on the basement floor. You had the first flight of steps going up to the first floor, or like the middle area, the living room, the dining room. And then you get around to the kitchen, and you'd have the third flight of steps like to the third floor. So we're sitting there, and we can hear somebody walking down the flight of steps, like from the third floor to the middle floor. And at first, we didn't really pay any attention to it. We're like, oh, it's probably just somebody walking down the stairs, like my brother or something like that. But what made it weird was this person walks like in the hallway into like the living room, or in past the dining room into the living room, and stops. It's like, okay, whatever. But then they start pacing back and forth, and we're like, okay, wait a minute. So what is somebody like up there looking for something or whatever? And so they're making like rounds, like they're just pacing back and forth from like the front of the house to the back of the house.
Wow.
But what made it weird was that they paced back and forth, and they walk towards like the edge of the house, and the steps they just dissipate. Like, so it's like as if somebody started walking from the front of the house to the back of the house, and the footsteps just kept going, like walking outside of like the wall, through the wall out into like the outside.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah. And Brittany's like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, I have no idea. So I was like,
I've lived in this house for 30 years.
Yeah, basically I told her, I was like, I've lived here for like almost 20 years. I've never heard anything like that. So then I was like, okay, well, maybe there's like a logical explanation. It was probably mom walking around or whatever. So I
sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking or something.
Yeah.
Walk upstairs. Mom is like knocked out, like in her bed or whatever. Covers on and everything. I was like, there's no way she was walking around.
And plus, you would have heard her go back up the stairs.
That's the thing. We didn't hear anybody walk back up the steps. Like there was no, like we heard the descent, but we didn't hear anybody walking back up the steps. Wow. We just heard them come to the middle floor, pace back and forth, and then just like the footsteps just dissipated. And it wasn't like they were walking. It was like legit. If somebody was like walking above us right now in the attic, like they were like making clear footsteps, pacing back and forth or whatever.
Now, was it like a
there was
heel to toe kind of thing, or just like
it was just like back and forth,
Over
like,
the house.
Back and forth. Yeah, it was like the craziest shit. I don't even think Jordan was even home at the time. Grandma was like asleep and knocked out. And yeah, to this day we're like, I don't know what the fuck that was. I remember though, prior to that, we had 2 cats, and of course Winchester. For like 2 weeks straight. I don't know what it was with the cats and the dog. They kept staring at the corner of the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Nonstop. Just like something caught their gaze and they're all just staring. And we're sitting there looking like we're minding our business. Like, what are you guys like fucking staring at? There's like nothing there. And they're just, basically it was like, will you guys stop? You're creeping us out. They were deadlocked on the corner of the ceiling for like 2 weeks, just random times throughout the day. I'm like, what are you guys looking at? Crazy shit. And then we heard the footsteps. But since then, I don't know, whatever it was that was there just left. It could have just been a spirit passing through. I have no idea.
But the animals knew though.
Yeah, they were dead set on like this was like they were looking at something like it was there, and that was kind of like the first like red flag. Or like, oh, that's really weird. And then the fucking footsteps happened. It was like, what is going on?
Wow, dude.
Yeah, just nuts.
I like the idea of just a ghost walking through your house and you're like, this place sucks. It just leaves.
Honestly, that's how like I kind of took it though. I was like trying to wrap my head around, and I was like thinking like there's nothing historic about this neighborhood. There's nothing. I mean, we grew up like near the battlefield and stuff like that, but I'm thinking like, well, Antietam is like a 30-minute drive, you know.
Well, I mean, Hagerstown in itself is a historic location, Civil War history as well.
Sure.
I mean, you got Antietam, you got Gettysburg. Those are two main battles. But Hagerstown, Frederick, and the surrounding areas were all major hubs of units moving to and from places.
Camps and
several like camps, hospitals, supply chains, anything you can think of. What we think of now as just being a regular neighborhood. Back then could have been a giant Union or camp or something. Yeah. And people, you know, I mean, you know how a Civil War camp goes. You get sick. More than likely, you're going to die. You don't see it from. It doesn't have to be something that you got shot on the battlefield and now you're haunting the battlefield forever. You die in a Union medical field hospital somewhere in the middle of Hagerstown. Who knows? You know? So,
yeah, it was freaking. Yeah, that was probably the most. And since then, I haven't had any. Those are the only like two. When we talk about like the sleep paralysis shit, that I've kind of learned to like kind of just cope with over time and have gotten used to it. The first time it happened, I was like freaking the fuck out.
Yeah,
like, what is going on? You know, and sleep paralysis.
Oh,
that was
God.
And I think about it now. Thinking back, I kind of laugh about it now. But again, it was one of those things where like the experience was so profound that I remember exactly what I was doing when it happened. I'd gotten home. We were in middle school. We were in 6th grade. I'd gotten home. And back when sci-fi, like the channel on TV, sci-fi, like I can remember the channel was 244 on DirecTV.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, like I can remember it like it was yesterday. They were doing an episode on, I believe, the Kecksburg incident. And like I legitimately, so I'd watched the show, but I was laying down on the couch like this watching it. And when it got to the credits, I had like dozed off, like I fell asleep. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced sleep paralysis. And I kid you not, I heard this like loud ass, like just kind of like an alarm, like a siren going off, like, woo, and like I couldn't move. My body just like locked up, and I was sitting on the couch, but I was awake. And like, I honest to God thought, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting abducted by aliens. It's like, this is it. No.
This is how I want to go out.
And it could only have been like the span of like just a minute or so, because I had dozed off when the credits started rolling, and when I came to, the credits were still going.
Oh wow!
So it was very, very quick, short like experience. But you know, of course, I'm like 12 at the time,
right?
So I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck that was. Wow. And then over the course of like, you know, growing up, it kept happening, and then I kind of learned that, oh wait, this is sleep paralysis. This is just something I got to live with now, I guess.
Was there any like dreams associated with you ever have it and feel like something's happening in your dream, in your sleep state, and you wake up and it feels like it's still happening, even though you're awake and you know you're awake, but you can't move?
Well, that's what it's now. When it happens, it's more like that. So it'll be like it's not want to say it's like a superpower, but it's the weirdest thing. You're asleep, but you're consciously awake.
Yeah.
So there were times where like in college when I would like take a nap or whatever and fall asleep, and it would happen, I'd be awake and be like, okay, well, I guess I'll study for my quiz or whatever. So like I had like flashcards in my head and I'm like just going through these like terms and stuff in my head or whatever until I like wake up. But then I wake up.
I'm a genius now.
But then I'd wake up and I'd be like, all right, I studied for my test. That's what I was doing in like my sleep state.
That would really suck if you woke up and you forgot everything you just read.
No, I mean like it's like you're very now.
What do you say? That would be terrible.
Well, I mean,
you just wake up, you're like, wait a minute.
What did I say? The craziest thing about it is now, though, is like, because Brittany's like aware that I kind of go through it. Whenever I get into that state, like I can still like control my breathing. So I start like breathing really heavily. And I've told her like, hey, if I ever start breathing like this, wake me up. Because she's like, what do you mean?
It's like your signal.
Yeah, it's like I'm asleep, but I'm conscious. I'm awake. So like I'm asking you to wake me up or whatever. And like I start doing that. She'll like shake me and I kind of come to. It's the craziest, bizarre shit. I can't.
If Freddy Krueger ever tried to get you, man, he would be fucked.
Maybe like, just sitting there reading. Oh, Freddy, you're here.
I prepared for this day. Yeah. Brittany wakes you up.
The weird thing about that whole sleep paralysis thing, because the last time it happened to me was probably like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah.
But in my dream, again, a dark force had a hold of me, and it had me by the feet, like the legs and the feet, so it would not, it was trying to like drag me. Basically, it was trying to get me to fall to drag me. Right. When I supposedly woke up, I still felt like they were holding on to my feet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I remember, like, even somewhat I didn't fully wake up, but I remember screaming help in my dream.
Yeah.
But in reality, because like that's what woke me up was me waking yourself up.
That's what it feels like. It's what it feels like. It's like you're awake. Like I'm telling you, dude, it's crazy. Like you'll be sitting
Trust
there.
me, I'm not jealous of this. I'm not.
It's horrifying.
It's crazy. Yeah, dude, you're sitting there.
I never want that to happen to me.
You're sitting there and like you're trying to like move every like muscle in your body, but it feels like there's like a weight. But consciously, you can feel yourself trying to move your arm or whatever, and you can't do it. It's like the craziest shit.
And like even get like words.
They're trying to speak words out.
It's not coming. Like you ever have that dream where it's like you're screaming bloody murder, but nobody can hear you.
Yeah,
like
it's basically that.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's interesting though that you said that like it still felt like something that had. I can only equate that to just from like recent personal experience doing the Renaissance Fair and wearing the Batman shit the whole time. When you take it off,
still feels like
you're driving home and it still feels like you're got all that stuff on you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you still felt that. I don't want to say that it kind of leads a little bit of credibility that something actually had a hold, unless it was just your brain rationalizing the sleep paralysis and making the muscles or something. I don't know, just to make it feel like you still had something holding on to you.
Right. It did. Like it felt like something like from beyond my bed was, just like, was trying to drag me off the bed, trying to pull me. And, but again, I couldn't move either. So like, and I'm trying to like someone out because I'm really freaking out in my dream, but also in my somewhat awake sense.
Your subconscious.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, like rationally afraid. I mean, like I've seen shit before, like in like those states or whatever. Like I've seen like gray aliens or whatever. I haven't seen like directly like, but where I was
told me about that.
Yeah, where I was sleeping on the bed though, like looking over, I could see kind of just like whatever I was looking at was short enough to where like it wasn't tall enough to like stand over the bed, but I could see like the dome of its head.
That's creepier than
like the dome of its head, and like it's not moving, which was even scary. It's just sitting there like not moving, but I could see like the dome of its head. And I'm like, that was like, whew, that was like, I need to wake the fuck up like now, dude. I need to wake the fuck up. But then there's like, but you see other cool shit too. Like there was one time where it was kind of like a light show, like like Chinese dragons. It was kind of like just like dragons like flying, and like I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Just like, I'll enjoy this one. Just like flashing lights and like dragons kind of
free laser rock show.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, that's what it is. It is like the most bizarre shit. Like I can't make it up.
We'll get to a couple more things here. I wanted to ask kind of what your thoughts are being open to the paranormal. What do you kind of think the paranormal? Do you think it's like an energy? Do you think that it's an imprinted kind of manifestation of that energy? Could it be something space-time continuum-esque where these events are happening in the past and the time? That's a newer kind of concept that I've kind of been exposed to, where it's like, for instance, Gettysburg. The battle, they're still fighting the battle, but the timelines are conjoining, and that's where you find the phantoms of these things happening in our reality.
I'm going to say all the above.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there's different hauntings and there's different spiritual actions and reactions and there's different, like everything, nothing's the same. And it's and like that, like again, the space-time continuum, like I think that could happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think, how spirits can, you ever have deja vu?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It happened the other
day. And not to bring, like religion into this whole thing, but like the past life thing. Like, I feel like when you get deja vu, maybe that's a way of you're saying this was supposed to happen. You are where you were supposed to be in your life at this point in time, because you're now getting a memory. Like, oh my God, like just seeing something, smelling something, hearing something.
It brings like a memory.
It brings that back. And it's like you were already here before.
Like a memory you didn't know you had.
Right. But also a way of saying you're on the right path. This is where you should have been. Mm-hmm. And eventually they'll stop because somewhere you fucked up, which is why you're coming back. It's like Groundhog Day or something. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like, I don't know. Like, I hope I hope there's a next life and I come back and I right some wrongs and, maybe, fix some things that, I haven't learned that lesson yet. But that's the only way I can explain that.
Right.
Like, how does my brain, if I can't always place where I've had this memory from and when it happens, but sometimes it's dream state, sometimes it's daydreaming state. I don't know, but like something happens and I've seen this and I've heard this and I've felt this before, and deja vu, it's what it is.
Right.
Where does that come from? And, the whole space-time continuum, traveling, coming back, things, again, spirits, residual, intelligent, it's energy
imprinted on it.
And yes. Yeah. Yep. Cool. All the above.
Cool. That was my last one. But outside of that, since this is still our special episodes on Halloween, figured we'd bring you in, and I just wanted to ask, what are your favorite Halloween traditions? Favorite things to do at Halloween? Favorite movies? Favorite, what was the best candy to get when you were out trick-or-treating?
Any kind of chocolate. Chocolates was always more, in my days, chocolate was more expensive. And favorite Halloween memories come from, when costumes were really flammable. And couldn't breathe in them, and couldn't really exist in them. Oh my gosh, latex and paper mache, all that creepy shit. My favorite movie, I do love Halloween, the movie Halloween. Now I do enjoy the Rob Zombie version better because it goes into the backstory.
Oh no.
The backstory is insane because it makes you feel for this guy. You still want him dead, but you feel bad
we didn't talk about that.
Man, I see now. That's where I'm gonna. We're here. This is where we part ways, man. This is where we part ways. The less I know about Michael Myers, the better, because that makes him way scarier. If I don't know anything about him. And Loomis is in the original where he says, "There's nothing behind that boy's eyes except for pure evil." That's the Michael Myers I want. I don't care about his family being a bunch of Rob Zombie trash hillbillies. And that's why he kills a bunch of people. I just want him to be evil for no reason. Just be evil.
Sure. No, and I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, sometimes I like the backstory.
Now, don't get me wrong. I do like Rob Zombie's Halloween. The first Halloween is a good watch.
Yes.
I can watch it, and Halloween 2 loses me.
Yeah. But I do love the original.
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
Okay.
My all-time favorite Halloween tradition is obviously Peanuts, Charlie Brown.
It's Great Pumpkin.
The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
I just bought that on VHS.
I could watch that like all year long.
Yeah.
Just like the Christmas episode. They didn't have a lot of horror. I mean, they did. Like the old vampire, the old werewolf, and Creature of the Black Lagoon, all the the masterpieces. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I was too scared to watch that shit when I was a kid. My sister one time watched Phantasm, the original Phantasm. Okay. And I remember seeing just parts of that and being scared shitless. But it was on Halloween. I'm like, I don't know about this anymore. But so I kind of strayed away from certain movies like that. But trick-or-treating was definitely a thing. My neighborhood was really fun for trick-or-treating. Like everybody handed out candy because everybody supported the holiday for fun.
Yeah. It was a community thing.
It was. Yeah. It's hard to find that anymore. And I have very fond memories of my flammable outfit and avoiding candles and
and just suffocating yourself in the masks that did not breathe at all.
All the candy, it was well worth it.
Absolutely. Did you take a pillowcase with you, or did you have a trick or treat bucket?
Well, it depends. As I got older, I started using a pillowcase because like I'm going to walk further now because I'm older, and I'm just going to, mom's not here to hold my hand anymore, so I get to walk around, and I'm going to go to this neighborhood next. So pillowcase after a while,
Think about the logistics. Got to expand your operation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm older. I'm wiser. I got more muscles. I can carry more candy.
But always Halloween always had this special vibe to it. Again, like depends on the neighborhood. Like this neighborhood here is wonderful because it has, the trees and they're turning and the leaves are dropping and it has that vibe. You know what I mean?
Very Haddonfield-esque.
Yes. and it just, it has a feeling and you want it to feel that way. And if it doesn't, it's kind of like, you wake up and it's 50 degrees and raining on Christmas morning. It doesn't feel like Christmas.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But Halloween seems to always feel like Halloween.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And, the moon, the stars, there's things that remind us of Halloween that brings back amazing memories that just takes us back to feeling young again. And to me, that's the most important thing about any holiday. But Halloween is...
It's nostalgic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just...
In all the best ways. Very well said, man. I agree with all of that. Very well said.
I love that stuff.
But I appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to sit down and talk with us.
Absolutely.
About all of your
thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Of course, this probably won't be the last time. I feel like you've got way more stories to belt out for.
Sure, and I'll probably have more, as I travel and meet new people.
Yeah. Do you have any plugs you want to get in while you're here? Anything about your photography or anything you want to advertise out here?
Yeah, you can. I'm on Instagram at the little @ symbol at Johnny JOHNNY .Kaufman KAUFMAN .photography, and you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. It's more the Facebook's the same kind of thing. But if you follow me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook. You can see my photography. I'm all over the place as far as styles, but I shoot mainly fashion models and I shoot for magazines and stuff like that. So,
like you said, you've been listening to the episode since day one.
Since day one.
We appreciate the support.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm glad to, this to me is an honor to be here.
Well, thanks, man.
This is really cool.
I appreciate we've seen how the sausage gets made now. So
I do know how the sausage gets made, and I met the cats. So.
And you met the cats,
absolutely.
But with that, we like to invite you, as usual, to reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Shadows and Sightings Pod on Instagram, Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal podcast on Facebook. Send us an email, shadowsandsightings@gmail.com. Look for us on Printful, right? Is it Printful?
It's Printful.
Printful.
Yeah, Printful.
Yeah, get a shirt, get a hoodie. Get something. Johnny's going to buy a hoodie and he's just going to model it for everybody, for all his model friends.
Oh, yeah.
And we're on YouTube now.
We're on YouTube now.
Really?
Yeah, we are.
That's
Believe
awesome.
it or not. Yeah.
Sorry, cut in there.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Exciting.
Yeah, you can get us on YouTube. It's just the audio file, but you can put it on in the background while you're going through your workday. And that's one more platform down. We're just working on damn Apple. Working on them. Write to Apple and tell them that you hate that you're not listening to Shadows and Sightings on their platforms. But
that'll get them.
I'm sure it'll get through. I'm sure they'll read it. Thank you guys for listening as we're still rolling through our spooky season episodes here. Got a couple of interesting episodes coming up in the near future. But until then, we'll see y'all next time when we talk about all things spooky.